Good afternoon. My name is Randy Wolken, President and CEO of MACNY, the Manufacturers Association, and the President and CEO of Manufacturers Alliance in New York State. This is my May 13th, Wednesday, COVID-19 update. The governor had his press briefing from Jefferson Community College in Watertown today. The number of hospitalizations and intubations continue to fall. The number of new cases also continued to decrease as levels seen when we began the New York pause were enacted. There were 414 new hospitalizations on May 12th. There were a total of 166 COVID-19 related deaths on May 12th. Of these, 122 were hospital deaths and 44 were in nursing homes. A total of 21,845 New Yorkers have passed away due to the coronavirus. The state has continued to initiate its effort to test essential workers for COVID-19 antibodies. New York City frontline workers have shown a lower percentage positive when compared to the city's general population. The New York State police and corrections officers have shown similar results when compared with the state's general population. The governor believes that frontline workers have a lower percentage of positive rates because they've been using PPE effectively. Hospitals in 12 more counties are now eligible to restart elective surgeries. The governor announced that the North Country has now met the 7 necessary metrics to reopen Phase 1 industries this Friday, May 15th. As announced earlier this week, the Southern Tier, Mohawk Valley, and Finger Lakes regions have all met this matrix. The Capital Region in Central New York region have met 6 of the 7 matrix. I'm involved in the control room for Central New York's region, and I believe that we'll hit the metrics as well and can open shortly, whether it be Friday or soon after that. The New York State Department of Health continues to track COVID-related illnesses in children that begin to show symptoms that are atypical and mimic the Kawasaki disease. There are now 102 cases in the state, 60% of which tested positive for COVID-19 and 40% which tested positive for the antibodies. New York is leading the nation in tracking and investigating this new phenomenon. The governor reiterated the state's need for $61 billion in federal funding to pay for frontline workers, testing, tracing, and public infrastructure as a part of the economic stimulus package. Governor Cuomo and Maryland Governor Hogan released a joint statement calling for $500 billion for fiscal support for state budgetary shortfalls resulting from the pandemic. Enhanced funding to provide for health care to our most vulnerable, and 100% cost share for FEMA response and other recovery efforts. The governor praised the U.S. House of Representatives for including SALT repeal in their Phase 4 recovery bill, which was introduced yesterday. If enacted, this bill would reinstate the state and local tax deduction that was removed in the 2017 tax reform bill. Governor Cuomo authorized an op-ed in the Washington Post entitled "What Washington Must Do to Protect Workers," and advocated for America's First Act. New York State Department of Labor is set to announce today $7.4 billion in unemployment insurance benefits that have been paid out to 1.7 million New Yorkers. New York State Comptroller DiNapoli released 2 reports with projections for New York State and New York City budgets. As much as $8.2 billion would be cut from aid to locality spending, while large reductions in funding for state operations are also planned. That's from the report related to the state budget. He also did a similar report for New York City. You can see those reports if you go to our website. You can also see on our website, as well as the New York State website, New York State's regional monitoring dashboard, which will show you, as of now, 4 regions of the 10 economic regions in New York State will now be eligible to open on Friday, with 2 nearly available for opening. And we'll see whether or not those 2 areas, to include Central New York, are allowed to open on Friday or soon thereafter. There is also guidance on the reopening of New York Phase 1. We're expecting to see tomorrow a website update and a portal for those businesses that can reopen in Phase 1. It's yet to be determined whether or not essential businesses that have been opened will also need to fill out the report. We'll try to give you that update as soon as we know it. The intent would not be for essential workforces and places that have been deemed essential to close down at all, but they may need to recertify through the website. We'll let you know more once we find out that information. And there's been no changes to Empire State Development's guidance related to essential businesses. New York City has some updates as well, and the rest of our links are on our page. We're now moving into a critical phase in our fight against COVID, the reopening phase. This will be a challenging task for so many organizations. Those who are open will tell you how difficult it is to get behavior changes, to have the right amount of PPE, to deal with people's fear and concern. All industries will have to plan for this at some point in the not too distant future. Planning for it now is absolutely critical. Preparing for it now is absolutely critical. But it's been made clear at this point that we will do it by region and by industry within region, and that the economic conditions aren't driving this. It'll be the health conditions. So this is a tough task. Everyone I've talked to who's doing it sees it's a tough task because the COVID threat remains amongst us. We don't yet know how it's all going to happen. Day to day, we're going to figure this out together. I ask you to stay strong, to stay encouraged, to support each other, to focus on the things you can do today. There's a lot of uncertainty, both in our community, in our region, our state, and our country. We all have to recognize that. So we're here for you. We'll help you in any way we can. And I wish you a good evening as well. Be safe, stay calm, carry on.